Part 2. How does Oleksandr Usyk beat Anthony Joshua? Check out my previous video I have dropped on how Anthony Joshua goes about beating Usyk. This video is on how does Oleksandr Usyk go about defeating Anthony Joshua. Be sure to like this video, share this video, drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me see what you guys think about this fight. Who do you think actually wins the fight? How do you think this goes down? But I'm going to be running through some of the points as to how Oleksandr Usyk beats Anthony Joshua. So, recapping on the first fight, a lot of people think that all Oleksandr Usyk needs to do is pretty much replicate what he did in the first fight, where he was pretty much sharp with that backhand. His left hand is really strong, it's quick, and he's awkward, and his movement and everything like that, and he's just never staying in one place, you know. And his fitness levels is able to pretty much, to be honest, Usyk looks like he can go for 15 rounds. It doesn't, he looks like he can go 15 rounds. He fights as if he's fresher even in the late rounds, and he even looks in some of the early stages of a fight. The guy's level of fitness is just elite. And obviously all these guys are elite, but there's elite and there's elite. there's different levels to this thing. But for me, Oleksandr Usyk doesn't really need to change so much, really, from what he did in the first fight. You know, in the first fight, like I said, his movement was great. You know, he didn't allow. He kept making Anthony Joshua have to constantly reset. He never allowed. You know, he never really put himself out there for Anthony Joshua to really load up on those power punches. You know, never gave AJ the opportunity to unload those combinations. He was consistently in and out of range, moving around the ring, changing angles, making Anthony Joshua have to think about getting caught himself, rather than even thinking about trying to set up to land his own punches. So he's consistently making Joshua have to think. You know, and I'm telling you now, the mental pressure is not just the physical pressure; it's the mental pressure. It can break down a fighter, and you kind of did see that Anthony Joshua was kind of struggling with that. You know, especially in the later rounds. But yeah, Oleksandr Usyk, like he did in the first fight, I feel like he needs to be sharp. He needs to start quick, just as he started before. And he very much guessing that in sparring, he probably has sparred for various different scenarios. He's probably sparred for people trying to rush him from the very beginning. He's probably sparred from a boxing match with big guys. He's sparred for guys who probably can throw, not exactly like AJ, but can throw great number of combination punching. He's probably realized his weakness, looking like people think he has put a little bit of weight. And to be honest, Usyk did look a bit bigger in some previous pictures, but some of these press conferences and stuff, he hasn't looked as heavy as I thought he would be. I don't know, but we'll see at the weigh-in. But I feel like some of this muscle and stuff he's putting on, these some deficiencies that he knows he had in the first fight. He's probably trying to rectify, because we have seen Usyk be vulnerable to some body shots. Not like he's been folded by a body shot, but you can see those little winces there. Not noticeable fully for maybe a casual fan watching, but if you do look, you can just see that little movement there to know, like, okay, excuse me, you know that Usyk don't really like body shots like that. Who likes body shots? But you know, Usyk probably knows that it's not something he really just needs to just be taken like that. So yeah, I feel like Oleksandr Usyk pretty much just needs to do what he did last time, changing angles, making Anthony Joshua have to think. One thing I do think he might need to do, because I feel that Anthony Joshua is going to be a lot better in this fight. I don't think it's going to be. I feel Usyk will. I feel like going to employ a tactic that's going to give a lot of people the perception that he's dominating Oleksandr Usyk physically. But I feel like Oleksandr Usyk is probably going to have to turn on the gas a bit more than he did in the first fight in order to get the perception of the judges to think like he's really the one that's in control. And he also needs to just keep an eye out in terms of, what Anthony Joshua was looking to do, just generally, because I feel like Anthony Joshua is going to be more aggressive, and Usyk needs to be prepared for that. And he also needs to be prepared for an Anthony Joshua that is maybe a lot fitter than he normally is, because Anthony Joshua and Joshua's team knows that if the fight ends up lasting from the mid to late rounds, AJ is going to have an improved gas tank. And Oleksandr Usyk, obviously, he was able to capitalize on Anthony Joshua having feeling looking a bit more tired than he. Not say a little bit more tired than he normally does, because we do know Joshua has had an issue when it comes to the stamina, but Usyk was able to capitalize on Joshua, fatiguing in during the fight. But I feel like AJ's gonna probably have a little bit much better fitness levels, because he's gonna need it in order to get the job done. So I feel like Usyk's gonna have to be definitely wary of that. He's gonna have to deal with that. He's definitely gonna have to be on his toes consistently, because at various points of the first fight, I did see Oleksandr Usyk at points where he did become a bit flat-footed. That's when he ended up taking some shots. He did get caught with some hard shots from Anthony Joshua, and obviously Usyk did show a pretty decent chin. He did get caught by some hard shots at moments where he did become a lot more stationary. So that's something he's going to have to look at. He's going to have to stay sharp on his feet, avoid becoming a stationary target for Anthony Joshua to load up and land with shots. He needs to stay as he normally does, in and out of range, making it difficult for Anthony Joshua to think about the combination punches he's looking to try and set up. And also, he needs to definitely, I think, be looking potentially. I don't want to say looking for the knockout, but I feel like that is something that should definitely be on the cards for himself, because I highly suspect, because in the first fight we did see one of the judges give the decision to him, but at 115, 113. And that was in the fight that I felt like Oleksandr Usyk dominated, and the judge still said 115, 113. So Usyk is gonna have to. AJ is gonna try and stamp his authority on this fight, and if Usyk just wants to make sure he gets the fair scorecard, he's gonna have to try and make it look as clear as broad daylight can be that he's the one dominating the fight. And if not, if the fight looks remotely close or anything like that, or even if maybe Usyk gets dropped in the fight, he's probably gonna have to, just to guarantee, get the knockout. Because as far as I'm concerned, in the first fight, 115, 113, for Usyk, for me, it was a bit too close on that scorecard. A bit too close on that scorecard. So I feel like it's going to have to show his dominance, and get the job done, whether it's by knockout or by pretty much clear devastation in the fight. So drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you guys think about Oleksandr Usyk? I just feel like he just needs to do what he's normally does, but just at a higher level and more peak fitness level than he did the last time. Because we've seen Oleksandr Usyk, he fights every fight the same. There's not much you can really say about him to do this. People like AJ or Wilders or Furies, they go into different fights doing different things. Oleksandr Usyk is consistent. He breaks you down. He gets to your chin. He's a sharpshooter with his jab. He's a sharpshooter with his counters. He's a sharpshooter with slipping shots and countering you and breaking you down, demoralizing you. And before you know, you've taken accumulation of punishment. And then before you know it, you're in a position of getting stopped. So he needs to pretty much just do what he normally does. And I'm very sure he's in the peak fitness level. He's looking a lot stronger than he did in the first fight. If you look at the public workout that Oleksandr Usyk did, his legs definitely look a lot stronger. So there seems to be a lot more better balance with his upper body and his legs. So he's definitely looking to stay on his bike, and not mean to say stay on his bike, but have that fleet-footed movement to keep the angles moving and keep the angles going. Because like I said, a couple of times he did become a bit stationary, and that's when he did end up taking a few shots, which he probably can't afford to do now, because I think if Anthony Joshua does catch him, he's going to be following up with combination punches, which obviously Usyk didn't have to deal with before, but I highly suspect that he has sparred for that. So drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me see what you guys think. I just feel like Usyk should just do what he normally does, higher fitness, like I believe he's got, and then just execute his game plan like he normally does pretty much with everyone. It seems to get it works for him. So drop your comments. Let me see what you guys are saying about this fight and what you think. And how do you think Usyk should go about fighting Anthony Joshua? Cool.